this regard, you're only talking to the person that's posting the content, where the issue essentially just gets buried underneath the weight of them going in circles over who's covering this issue the best or who shouldn't monetize this. Central conversation surrounding this issue shouldn't be, why are you covering?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it seems like the only issue people got is the monetization. Like if you're talking about a tragedy or talking about something bad or talking about this or interviewing somebody and this happens, the issue is, oh, but you profiting from it. It's like, I'm profiting from my platform. I just happen to monetize this video, like, but I'm profiting from the following I built, the platform I built. It's not just this person, you know what I'm saying?
So I've been wanting to talk about this for a little while, and I decided to bring this to the forefront before I hop right back into regular video making mode and talk about hip hop media, forerunners of hip hop media. Recently, I've been encountering plenty of content that has been criticizing hip hop media, hip hop content creators in general. And I do feel rightfully so, as who I believe to be the biggest beneficiaries in hip hop regarding coverage of tragic events, music, controversy. Very rarely do any of these, I don't really want to call them giants, but owners of this particular content receive the same amount of flack or criticism for their questionable morality. I saw a video from Channel 5 recently titled "O Block." I watched it and I thought it was a pretty good video. In watching it, I didn't feel like the interviewer, Andrew, was malicious or too ignorant of the situation to a point where he was trying to speak for a particular culture that he was never invested in. But I saw an excerpt that included content creator DJ Academics, and in seeing this particular clip, it gave me insight into DJ Academics' motivations for covering content in an area that he's never been to or doesn't plan on going to. And that content wasn't limited to music. I'm well aware of the fact that plenty of people will respond to anyone who criticizes DJ.
Nah, Academics was getting big hate. Cause I mean, you document people are dying, you shedding light on people. Now you kind of like giving people incentive to like do things so you can like say their name on your platform. Like, I wouldn't say it helped the situation at all.
Academics' past coverage of Chicago with, he's not the one who started the problem in Chicago, he simply covered it. But that's not what's being questioned here. The question isn't who started. The question is who's the biggest beneficiary,
right,
and what the motivations for those people who benefit partially from the violence in Chicago and violence in hip hop in general are. I saw another disagreement between content creators Joe Budden and Adam22. All I saw was two dudes that were basically two halves of the same whole, going back and forth about the different ways that they exploit people for profit. And I don't want to make it seem like my perspective on this is everyone's evil in different ways.
But is it exploitation? Like, I just did my video on Vlad talking about you know, is Vlad a culture vulture or not? Because he's interviewing these people and sometimes people are incriminating themselves, and you know what I'm saying? Even with Adam22, like, is it bad for the, I don't feel like nobody's being taken advantage of, really. Yes, they're monetizing it, but it's like you are also getting like a major shout out. Like, you're being broadcasted to the whole nation. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like they're getting over on nobody. I don't feel like it's an unfair exchange. It seems equivalent to me.
So we should just stop talking about it. But I find it very difficult to take a position of morality or a moral high ground in the situation, given that I am a content creator who posts about things that I find interesting, reviews that, you know, cover music that talks about trauma, sometimes death. Granted, I might not delve as deep into that personal business as some others may to exploit for profit, but at the end of the day, it's still coverage of something where the biggest beneficiary in the coverage would be myself. The video that I'm seeing of the two going back and forth, it's almost as if it's an argument to rid themselves of the guilt associated with covering violence in hip hop or covering hip hop in general. Where I think this debate between Joe Budden and Adam22 goes wrong is, It feels like Joe Budden and his crew are under the impression that if Adam22 stopped posting about the things that he posts about, that the issue would resolve itself, when in reality, you'd just be talking to someone other than Adam22 who'd be doing the same thing. It's also hard to take that.
There's so many different avenues they can take. They got Cam Capone News. It's a bunch of people that you can sit down and talk to a microphone and tell your business or have an interview with. Like,
that moral of a high
they just
ground
the biggest.
When we consider that you are having a conversation with this man on a platform that you've been building for decades almost. I mean, this is essentially your baby. If he's that despicable, why have a conversation with him at all? Because there is a benefit. There is a mutual benefit. Again, as a content creator, you can't rid yourself of the benefit of having a conversation with a man that you would label disgusting. I mean, you had an entire show in an entire relationship with DJ Academics, who is, you know, very widely criticized for his War in Chirac series, which is some of the most exploitative coverage of the deaths of young black men in Chicago that I've ever seen. You see why taking a morally high ground in any of these instances leaves you morally inconsistent? This isn't the same thing as someone who's generally left-leaning having a conversation with, I don't know, Andrew Tate, for instance. And their mission in this conversation is to, at the very least, have a conversation about some of the problematic ideologies Tate might spread to potential viewers. In this regard, it's better to have that conversation on an open platform so that these ideas can be exposed, challenged, debunked even, so that they don't fester in silence and in private and in an echo chamber where the extreme result is violence or potential tragedy. In this regard, you're only talking to the person that's posting the content, where the issue essentially just gets buried underneath the weight of them going in circles over who's covering this issue the best or who shouldn't monetize this. Central conversation surrounding this issue shouldn't be, why are you covering?
That's what I'm saying. It's like, it seems like the only issue people got is the monetization. Like, if you're talking about a tragedy or talking about something bad or talking about this or interviewing somebody and this happens, the issue is, oh, but you profiting from it. It's like, I'm profiting from my platform. I just happen to monetize this video, like, but I'm profiting from the following I built, the platform I built. It's not just this person, you know what I'm saying?
This issue, the conversation should be, why do people want to see it? Why is it happening? Something that one of the co-hosts of the Joe Budden podcast on this particular matter said really bothered me. And it was, I believe his name is Ish, when he said these guys don't know any better, and almost reduced them to animals who don't know how to think and only go by anything instinctive. And it bothered me because it's the same way that DJ Academics used to describe some of the people that he would cover in the War in Chirac series. He would say that they were savages. In an effort to come across as caring, you've put the people that you're trying to protect from this level of exploitation up on display to be viewed as beasts, as opposed to people who know very well what they're doing, but are doing what they're doing anyway because of their circumstances. You don't think that a lot of these dudes know at the end of the day that they're about to take a life and that that's morally incorrect? You don't think a lot of these dudes know that this is going to be a painful experience? You don't think a lot of these dudes know that they're putting themselves and their family at risk and in danger? You don't think a lot of them already know that but are doing it regardless because these are the cards that they've been dealt and this is the situation that they have? You don't think a lot of them already know? You think you're going to sit here and educate a kid who's been in this more than you in a different time area and a different time period than you about their situation? It's one thing to say that people that are in this situation need therapy, need counseling. Addressing this trauma can definitely help them as they progress in life, but pretending like every single one of them are just these incompetent beings roaming around the earth not knowing anything, I don't really think that's fair. And
yeah, I don't like the whole they don't know any better, because I mean, if you go to court, bro, and say I didn't know no better, you going to jail regardless. Like, that don't matter whether you do or not. It's against the law. That don't matter. I don't see that as a cop out. They didn't know any better. Like, people know what they're doing. People know that there are consequences.
White progressives come around and they try to defend black people by reducing them to their most lowest state. While having that conversation, it's also imperative to employ some sense of responsibility to some people that are living in these communities. I know it's not easy by any means. You definitely are more predisposed to certain behaviors living in certain communities. That's just what the system has done. That's why it's more of a systemic issue than it is, oh, this content creator, let's talk about them. Setting people up for failure or putting them in conditions that aren't adequate for success in the future, it's the biggest way to get them to destroy themselves, and they've done that. I think we end up getting wrapped around in this cycle of virtue signaling so much that you end up having conversations and diverting attention away from the root cause of the issue, where you can definitely 100% criticize people who aren't trying to improve themselves, while at the same time acknowledging the economic discrepancies between this community and this community that people might look at and think is doing so well. And I say it all the time, two things can be true at the same time, but for some reason people don't believe it. And I think it's perfectly fair to look at people who profit off of violence away. I think that's fair to look at them as morally questionable. If you want to have a problem with Adam 22 for the coverage that he has of hip hop, that's fine. If you want to have a problem with DJ Academics for his past coverage in the war of the War in Iraq series, that's fine. But don't spend all your time only focused on that issue, because that isn't the issue. It's an issue, but it's not the issue.
I want to say with Academics with the whole War in Iraq thing, I think he caught on and saw the error in his ways. He don't do that no more. He been stopped covering that a long time ago. So I'm assuming he saw the error in his ways and stopped. Now he just is covering just pop news. Whatever's popping right now, he just talks about that. Pop culture. You feel me? Adam 22, I used to tap in with his interviews early on when it was just basically like underground rappers being interviewed and they was just talking just to get like some exposure. I watched back then, but once he started all this branching off and it's all kind of porn stars and other folks hosting and other podcasts on the same channel, I kind of tapped out a little bit. I ain't gonna lie to you.
You can try to make yourself feel better as much as you want. Okay, yeah, I'm having an interview with this guy and I'm purposefully not asking these questions because I don't want to get him in trouble, or I don't want him to be reminded of his trauma in any capacity. If that makes you feel better, cool. You go to sleep better at night than this guy. It's perfectly fine for people that have the same position of the Joe Budden podcast to not necessarily cover topics related to gang violence. I think that's commendable, but I also don't think it's too big of a stretch to demand or request people criticize people like, I don't know, Jay-Z and his understanding of the word capitalism as it pertains to his position in the US as a billionaire. I think the Company Man makes a great video explaining exactly where Jay-Z went wrong on this. And that's a position that I don't expect the Joe Budden podcast to ever maintain, bring up, or hold with their platform. Yeah, you don't have to talk about gang violence, but you can talk about the other issues in hip hop too. Are these young guys that get interviewed on these platforms competent and oftentimes aware of the decisions that they're making? Sure. That doesn't rid certain content creators like Adam 22, Vlad TV from giving sometimes very active gang member a platform, asking them certain questions that you know will either implicate them or continue to instigate issues that they already have existing. These dudes potentially losing their life over it, and who is the biggest beneficiary once again?
Yeah, I do be seeing a little bit of instigation sometimes. Like you interview somebody and they talk about they beef with somebody, then you go interview the person they got beef with. It's like you kind of egging it on a little bit. You can ask them questions about their life without asking them about their beef. I feel like
the person who posted the content. So in a very simple understanding of the word, yes, Adam 22, Vlad TV, even DJ Academics from time to time profit off of the deaths of young black men. The question also needs to be asked, why do people find this type of, content entertaining? But I don't believe these problems are the responsibility of the creator to delve into, start digging, and then make these almost Trap Lord Ross-esque videos about how this happened. I don't think that's your place. And that's no hate to Trap Lord Ross. It's just, obviously, I can understand someone looking at the content and them feeling a way about it.
Whoa. Atlanta's biggest dealer, Mr. Dog Food. Chicago's deadliest gang, no limits.
I think the funniest part about the interview that I saw, the clips that I saw, the video portions that I saw, was that the biggest beneficiaries once again were the content creators, Adam 22 and the Joe Budden podcast, talking about rappers and artists once again losing their life over street nonsense, and once again no insightful discussion or conversation ended up being had, just a bunch of shit that people already knew off the backs of young black men dying. But that's just my opinion. I think the hip-hop coverage, that understanding of what you are supposed to do can be determined by the person making the content, but True. I do believe there are certain parameters and certain boundaries that you should not cross. And I do believe those things are being crossed and have been crossed on a regular basis without much care in the world. And when they are addressed, people don't tend to take to them well. Y'all let me know how you felt about it. I just wanted to kind of give some quick thoughts about it. And yeah, I'll see you real soon.